Did you guys hear that?
Did it start?
I don't know. Did it start?
It says recording.
Okay. Okay, good. Sorry.
Welcome, everybody. Yeah, you do the welcome slide and I'll do the rest from there.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to invite, thank you guys all for joining us for today's virtual event sponsored by the I-Corps at Rutgers program, Digital Marketing for Startups and Entrepreneurs Journey with Pardees Safizadeh. And so we'll be going to her to have Pardees share her story with us. But for our agenda, we're going to just start out with a little bit of an introduction to I-Corps at Rutgers for some of you who haven't heard it yet. There's some who do know it, but then our Pardees will talk about her experience and with digital marketing, and then we'll do some follow-up Q&A at the end. So Lori, you can start here.
Great. So thank you, everybody. And I'm just going to tell you a really brief intro, and Mark's going to help me with about our I-Corps program. And we call it Driving Innovation Through Customer Discovery. And it's really all about the customer discovery process. These are the members of our leadership team, Dunbar Burney, myself, Lori Dars, Mark de Guzman, who's on the call, Dan Benderly, who's also on the call. And we have another member of our teaching team, Connie Pascal, who also runs a lecture and also helps us run our sessions. She's on the call as well. Next slide. So the National Science Foundation created the I-Corps program with a number of goals in mind. Basically, they wanted to get their innovations out of the lab and into the marketplace. They had funded a lot of basic research and realized they weren't really benefiting society. So they were creating these university ecosystem teams through the program. They also were de-risking technologies. Innovations out of research labs and universities are usually very early stage, and the more teams can learn about who their innovations benefit and if they really have value, it decreases the risk and it makes it easier for them to get follow-on funding. And it really allows entrepreneurs to succeed or fail fast. So they learn right away if there's a benefit to their innovation or not. And lastly, increasing network opportunities. The I-Corps program introduces teams to a broad range of resources to other innovators, business leaders, scientists from across the university. And as it says on the bottom of the slide, it really did bridge the gap between the lab and the marketplace. Next slide. So created this National Innovation Network. Originally, I-Corps, when it started in 2011, had just a few nodes and sites. And now the network is 99 sites. Those are the yellow stars across. Rutgers is one of 99. We're one of only 2 in New Jersey. And we started working with the NICRA node out of New York. So all these sites and nodes are resources for entrepreneurs. It's a very great group of entrepreneurs who reach out and connect with one another. Now we're going to show you a little I-Corps video.
Here we go. Great. So thanks, Lori. And so that video is it's a new video, and we're just announcing that cohort 10 is now available to apply as a team and as a fellow. And we'll go more into that later. But basically, the I-Corps program is based on the Lean Launchpad program, which was started by Steve Blank. Stanford professor who was teaching it to his classes, and he expanded it nationwide with the I-Corps program. It really focuses on experimentation and scientific method to really do this evidence-based entrepreneurship, finding out where the problems are in the real world, and connecting the researchers to those people to find out if they could solve their problems. It is experiential learning. Anyone, the people who are on the call today who have been through I-Corps know it is really experiential learning. You get out of the building virtually. We're actually, getting out of the building virtually through Zoom meetings, but the point is to meet with these potential customers. A lot of professional development, skills building, network building, and things like that. There's so many things involved. It's hard to explain, but the business model canvas is what we focus on. In the National I-Corps, they focus on the whole canvas, but for our site program, we only focus on primarily two, which is the value propositions in the middle and the customer segments on the right, which is really boils down to who are your customers and why do they care? And so each week they have a different theme. We have sessions that are mostly on Friday mornings and some Tuesdays, where each week they focus on a different theme, and then we have office hours, and it's really this back and forth with the teaching team that you get a lot of value, and you learn a lot of these things. Primarily, you get these four basic things out of participating in I-Corps. You get new thinking. You see these quotes here. You get new skills, how to interview customers, how to present, how to become more confident. You meet new people. There's so many people out there that once you know the right person, it can really launch you into a new opportunity, which is number 4, new opportunities. You got people are like struggling with that, getting out of their comfort zone, and we kind of push you with a smile to try to get you to overcome your fears and really put yourself out there, and you'll really be surprised what you can get out of these types of opportunities. And so these quotes also really focus you to learn design changes in your prototype that you hadn't considered before because you never heard these customers, and understanding the customer needs, right? And these factors that drive the market. So by really meeting with these people, you learn so much. And so the applications are now open. The deadline is January 25th, 2021 for the spring 2021 cohort, which is going to be held virtually from mid-February, or I think it's late February until early April. And if you are not ready for that, sometimes you need a team. So you have to apply. You could apply later for summer or fall, but we're always running a cohort every semester. So do your best to apply. It is competitive. So the earlier you apply, the more chances you are of getting in. And we meet with you to kind of help figure out what you need to help make your team better, whether it's your team or some kind of preparations that you need for I-Corps. It is actually open to beyond just Rutgers. We have, it's open to some invited schools to promote diversity and inclusion for some of these Hispanic serving institutions and minority serving institutions in the region. So if you come from one of those, please, help yourself to, join us here at I-Corps. Go to the icorps.rutgers.edu website and apply or talk with us, and we'll have the conversation. The other thing about the I-Corps Fellowship I mentioned is it is an opportunity for diversity and inclusion to include these underrepresented groups to participate in this innovation kind of experiential learning experience. So, so if you are interested in innovation and entrepreneurship, but you don't have your own innovation, you can apply as an individual to participate with a team as a team member. This in the middle here, the two types. The first one is a team member. We'll match you with a team based on your experience and based on the needs of the team. But number 2 is you can apply as a cohort fellow, where you actually support and work with the teaching team, so you can really see what goes on behind the scenes and how to put I-Corps together and what kind of advice we are suggesting for the teams and those kind of things. So it's a great opportunity. A lot of the fellows who participated really learned so much, and they're taking it forward with them in their future career paths. So definitely take this opportunity.
The last thing I wanted to add is that you do get a National Science Foundation grant when you participate in I-Corps. You're eligible for up to $2,500 in reimbursement. So we will let you expense things such as LinkedIn Premier, the advanced version of LinkedIn, conferences, events, virtual events now. It used to be in-person events. And if you want to join associations, so it's any expense that would enable you to do more customer discovery. It is a reimbursement. We don't pay you up front. We reimburse you for expenses, but it does count as a National Science Foundation grant, which leads to other potential funding opportunities.
Great. And so, just go on this Qualtrics survey. I'll put it in the chat later on when I'm done, but just fill out the Qualtrics survey and we do an interview so we can learn a little bit more about you and we can help match you to the right team. So that's enough about iCore. We just wanted to share that opportunity, but now we're going to bring you to Pardees. And so Pardees is going to share her inspiring journey from working at IBM and cloud services companies to her creating her own digital marketing company, Albaloo. And she's just great, a very engaging speaker and digital marketing expert. So without further ado, sorry for the delay, but Pardees.
Thank you for joining us, Pardees.
Now the party started.
Yay.
Party started.
Great, let's go. How's everyone doing? Write in the chat how you're doing. All right, I'm gonna make you guys write in the chat a lot, so I hope you're not away from your computers and half listening. Yeah, Jen, get it. Awesome. Woohoo! Oh, you guys are great. Oh, good. We got some caffeinated people in here. Awesome. All right, I'm doing really good too. I get really excited when I do these things, so I sometimes talk really loudly, but in fast. So if I go too fast, feel free to yell in the chat. I also like to talk to people while I'm talking, so feel free to write things in and I can call on you. We can have a good time. Oops, I'm going to go to the beginning of this presentation over here. Sorry, I'm just getting myself situated. I'm going to share the screen. All right, we are here and I lost the chat. Bringing it back. Sorry, I also have to talk to myself as I say things. Hey, oh, morning from Australia. Oh, wow. What time is it over there? You win, Chris O.
I know he wins.
7:15. Damn. That's awesome.
It took him 3 seconds for his, no, not 3 seconds. It took him a little bit more than a second for his chat to get here.
Yeah, I know, right? Shanita, nice to see you. All right, let's get this going. Okay, so basically, I'm just going to talk a little bit about me, tell you a bit about where I am. So I've been marketing professionally for 10 years, unprofessionally for about another 4. I started in college, and so a lot of the things that I'm talking about and I've been doing for at least 10 to 20 years. So if you get a little overwhelmed, don't worry. Everyone starts somewhere, and we can get started. I was also part of 2 acquisitions, so I'm batting at 100% for working at venture-funded startups. I helped Cloud Health Technologies get from 5 leads a month to over 500 leads a month, which helped them go into the acquisition by VMware. And then same thing with Evergage. I was on the customer success side there. That was a marketing technology company, so I helped them fix their churn for their customers. And then they got acquired by Salesforce earlier this year. So yeah, I worked with over 100 startups. I helped them launch and scale, and I'm excited to share with my learnings. I'm going to talk to you more about my thoughts and processes and how I got from point A to point B. If you want to ask me more questions, feel free to put it in the chat. All right, here we go. Okay, so how everything started was actually from horseback riding, which is kind of funny. I was started riding horses when I was about 3 years old. I was really good. I'm a really big risk taker, which you're soon going to find out. And due to that, I always loved being on the most wild horses ever. And one day I was about 10 years old. They put me on a horse that no one else could ride, not unbeknownst to me. So basically I got on the horse, I rode it pretty well for about, 30 minutes of an hour-long lesson. And then we went to start doing the cantering and the more of the high risk horseback riding activities, and the horse freaked out and I fell off and I bruised my tailbone and I couldn't walk for about 2 weeks. And when I was on the ground, I heard these people, the instructors, kind of talking amongst themselves, and they were talking about how they were going to sell the horse. And I was like, wait a minute, why are they selling the horse after I fall off? That's a really big red flag. So I talked to my mom and I was like, Mom, they're going to sell the horse I rode on. And she was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, that's what they said. So I made my mom go and inquire as to why they're selling the horse that I rode on. And she basically learned that everyone else had tried to ride the horse too. They couldn't ride it. They were trying to break it. They had bought it for pretty cheap and they thought that they could have me on it because I was a very tiny child. I'm only 5 feet tall today. When I was a kid, I was like 3 feet tall. And like I was very underweight. So they thought the horse couldn't tell if I was on it, and then I could like hang on for dear life and do it. And my mom was like, don't you dare do that to my daughter ever again. And I was like, no, Mom, I want that. And she was like, next time you let my daughter do this, you pay her. And so because of that, they actually started paying me to ride their horses for them. And when I was in high school, I got paid $100 an hour to ride horses. And then I would get a nice tip for like $50 to $100 after that. So those people are really wealthy. And that basically taught me like, hey, if you ask for things, you might get them. So then I applied that learning to my family because I'm crazy. And so these are me and my sisters. The baby sister is about 5 years younger than me. And I soon figured out that a lot of her friends didn't have older siblings. And so I could be held responsible for my sisters at home. Her friends couldn't. So I started telling her friends' parents that I could babysit them. Oh yeah, thanks. We're like a really cute band. And my mom used to like to make us all wear matching outfits and stuff. And to this day, we still wear matching outfits. And so based on that, I started telling my sister's friends' parents that I could babysit for them. My mom was a little bit uncomfortable, but I got all the CPR certifications and things that I wanted to get done. And then I started using my middle sister, who's only 1 year younger than me, as my first employee. And so I managed her. Sometimes I would put her on another house and I would babysit someone else. When she fell asleep, I had to tell her I had to dock her pay. Sometimes she didn't want to work well, so I had to fire her. And then sometimes I would rehire her as needed. So I learned a lot of the management skills. And then as I kept going with the babysitting, I actually started charging the parents more and more and just wanted to see like what's the rate I could get. Because, at this point, like, let's see what we can get. One family was super wealthy, so I started charging them $80 an hour to babysit.
Wow.
And 1 year I made, like one day I babysat them for like 10 hours. So I came home with $800. I was super excited. So then I showed my mom I had $800 in cash on me. And my mom freaked out and said, like, what? You can't do that. Give the money back. So she made me give back $400. Sorry. I know. So at that point in time, I learned never tell your family when you're making a lot of money. They don't believe your value. So that's what we did. So basically, I went to theater. I went to college. And I went to college, I became a theater major because I used to play flute a lot in high school, and my parents didn't want me to do music as a major. They were afraid I was going to be a starving musician. Now I'm a starving entrepreneur, so joke's on them. But they told me never become a music major. So I was like, okay, cool. So I became a theater major instead. So still performing arts. When I was performing, doing tryouts, me and my best friend, she's the Greek one right there, we got told that we would never be in any show unless we were a slave or a maid because we weren't Irish origin, European, white. So that made us kind of mad. So we started actually putting on shows that would help theater people of color get shows to actually get more of those acting credentials and those resumes that they could then use to go on other shows and get the experience. So this is actually the most diverse show at Boston College, which isn't really diverse when you think about it. But it was pretty mind-boggling back then. And we got blacklisted by the theater when we started putting on a lot of these types of shows. So because, not by the theater, sorry, about our newspaper. So the school newspaper, everyone used to read it. It was called the BC Heights. If you weren't in the newspaper, no one knew what was happening. And so we realized that we weren't going to be listed in the paper. They said, no, you make us uncomfortable. And I thought, like, okay, like we have Facebook. Let me see if I can get everyone to show up via a Facebook event invite. And this was back in the day. I'm old, so I graduated 2010. From 2006 to about 2008, only college kids were allowed on Facebook. And that's when I was doing this. So I actually showed up. I figured out how to get everyone to invite people to Facebook, make them come, make them show up. We were the only college student show that sold out all 3 nights without any newspaper help or anything. And I was like, okay, this is interesting. If I can get anyone to show up via a Facebook event, I don't even need a newspaper anymore. Like, what else can we do? So I graduated college. I got a job at a public relations firm. They were old school, did not believe in social media. So I thought social media would be the future. And so I figured out, like, how can I get a part-time job doing social media on the side? And I met this team called Greenhorn Connect, and they were a website in Boston that helped connect all the entrepreneurs to the resources they need to succeed. And back in 2010, HubSpot had just started. They weren't really a thing. They started in 2008. They were doing SEO back then. like the inbound conference that's now about 30,000 attendees used to be 10 at a bar, and I used to go to that, and there was not much going on back then. And so we were like, I was tweeting, I was trying to get people to show up. I grew the Twitter account from 500 to 5,000 people in about 2 years. This kind of helped me launch my career and what I was doing, because everyone started knowing me as this Twitter girl who talked about startups, and so all the other startups started hiring me too, which is really cool. And so that's the biggest thing that I realized, like, you can get in front of anyone if you're doing digital marketing. And so here's some fun stats to talk about that. So if you look at it, people are spending a lot of their time on social media. If you look at over the lifetime, people spend 8 months on Instagram, a year and 2 months on Snapchat, a year and 7 months on Facebook, and a year and 10 months on YouTube. And remember, these are averages. So some people are probably spending 5 years. Some people might be spending 1 month. But if you want to get in front of anyone, everyone's online. And this is really the best way to meet people, tell them more about yourself, tell them about your product or your innovation, and actually get them to use it at scale. Here's another fun one. Here's all the active users. So basically, Facebook has 2 billion people, and probably more now. YouTube has 1.5 billion. Instagram has 700 million. Like, where else can you show up where you'll find at least 1 million or 1 billion people to talk about you? Anywhere else you have to do that, you have to spend a lot of money. And if you want to think about spending a lot of money, here's some money. So basically, to get in front of one person based on the campaign you're doing direct mail, which means you're mailing actual letters or like those little coupons you see in the mail to people. That's $57 per person to actually get them to convert. TV ads, $28 if you're doing a good job. Magazines, $16 per conversion. Like, ouch. If I want to get in front of 1,000 people or get 1,000 conversions, I have to spend like $2,800. And you see that goes all the way down to social media. It's $2.50. And you can actually get that for a lot lower too, with a lot of like the TikToks and Snapchats and like new advertising platforms that are out there. So think about it. If you want to get in front of a lot of people fast, number one, organically, you can get in front of a lot of people with social media. Number two, you can actually use a little bit of the advertising, and you're getting it for a fraction of the price of what you're spending anywhere else. And that's my biggest reason of why I tell startups to actually use social media for advertising, growing your audience, getting to meet people before doing anything else, even before SEO. Because like search engine optimization, it takes about a year or two for it to actually start showing up and working for you. Whereas social media, you can show up today, and I can find 5 people today to talk about, and I can like send them a LinkedIn request, I can send them a Twitter chat, I can like actually talk to them and get them to talk to me back for like $0, or I can spend $100 and get in front of 1,000 people. So that's why digital marketing is where you should be. There's that pitch. All right, and then I realized after doing all that social media, there's got to be more than just social. And so that's why I kind of realized that I was sending a lot of traffic from Twitter, from Facebook to LinkedIn over into people's websites, and then people were bouncing. They weren't signing up for anything. And everyone would be like, why aren't they signing up? And I really didn't know back then. So that's when I realized I was going to hang up my hat, stop doing social media on the side. I was doing it full time just for other companies from the time I was 23 to 26. And then I decided to like go big or go home. So I decided, let's go corporate. Blah, 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 blah. So
Dun, dun, dun.
dun, dun, dun. It didn't go well. Surprise, surprise. So basically, I joined IBM on the team of Cloudit, and IBM Cloudit was part of IBM Cloud. And these are all the different services for IBM Cloud that they were giving part of the day. And this was me. I was a little chart on this huge map of IBMs. And we're actually one of the smaller ones. As you get closer to the middle, you're more important. So you can see we're kind of like on the side there. And we were a database as a service that ran all of the apps on IBM. And so they had this entire idea that, we're going to start powering the future. IBM's going to fix themselves and join the generations of like in 2014 and actually come back to life, because they were kind of lagging behind the other companies out there, like Google and Facebook and all the other big, or what they call FANG, or like the two is FA. You guys probably know about this. I'm going to type into the chat. Forget what all of them are. It's like Facebook, Apple, something, Google.
Amazon. No,
Amazon,
Netflix and Google.
Yeah. There we go. Mark knows. So the way that they do advertising at IBM is that everyone donates a portion of their budget to a large pot, and then you work with an agency because no one at IBM actually knows how to do anything, and the agency runs your ads for you, and they figure out and they make sure whatever you put in is what you get out. So I donated 10% of my budget. I also knew how Google worked, and so I asked the agency for certain reports. I would say like, hey, can I see the report for like click-through rates and like conversions by keyword? They told me it's impossible. And I said, hey, are you guys using Google ads? Are you lying to all of IBM? And they were like, excuse me. I'm like, I know these reports exist and I want them. And, you know, they said no. And I said, okay, so if you say no, I'm going to tell everyone you're not actually advertising on Google. If you don't have these reports, that means you're not doing it on Google. And so they got really mad at me. And so I kind of backed them up into a corner, and they gave me all these reports. I worked day in and day out with one of their junior people who had just graduated college, had no idea what the cloud was. So all of the ads they made for us were gibberish. I optimized them super hardcore. I made our conversion tracking work. I set up a bunch of pixels and stuff on the site. And lo and behold, my ads did better than everyone else's ads. And we ended up one quarter, we put in 10% of the budget, and I spent 60% of the budget because the agency didn't keep track of who was spending what. And that was when Google first came out with the algorithm that whoever's doing the best will get bundled up to the top. So in our cloud group, my ads were doing the best. So they got shown to the most for everyone else. So then we were in this meeting, all these people, all of these charts or these different groups on here, they each have a digital marketing manager. And every quarter, all of them join one call and the agency goes over all of the reports for everyone at once. So I was on this call, not unbeknownst to me, that, hey, like we spent a lot of the budget. I got 400 leads that month. Everyone else got maybe 100, a lot less because their ads weren't as optimized. And everyone freaked out because they were like, why is this one person using all the budget? They all started yelling at me. Someone looked me up on the IBM has their own version of LinkedIn that shows the people and what they call it a band is, and you get ranked from 1 out of 10 for like what your competency is for your role. And I was ranked an 8 out of 10. I was 26. I was a lot younger than everyone else on that call. They all got angry at me. So that was rough. And I said, hey, it's not my fault. It's the agency's fault. And everyone else and then the agency got mad at me too. So I got off the call, brushed myself off. My VP of marketing kind of got over to me and he said like, hey, like heard you had a fun call. And I was like, yeah, maybe. And he told me I had 2 options. I could either become a shared resource for everyone. That was the fair way. And I could just run everyone's ads and become the director of advertising for IBM Cloud, or I could leave. And I chose leave. I was like, get me out of here. I hate working here. He was like, okay, cool. Let's get you out. So I joined my first venture funded startup called Cloud Health Technologies. This is the woman who hired me. Her name is Melody. She was actually friends with the VP of marketing at the Cloudant, and she was looking for someone who knew digital and knew cloud. And he was like, here you go on a silver platter, someone who knows digital and knows cloud. So I got this job. This was our marketing team when I started. On the right-hand side was a marketing team when I left, and it was only 2 years in between. So we got, we went like the really traditional venture route. When I came in, we had a B round of funding, about $20 million. We then raised a C round of funding for an extra 30, and then a D round of funding for an extra 60, and then they got acquired at VMware for $500 million. Yeah, it was a really fun place to work. It was great. It was super fun. I mean, most startups are fun because like everyone's around the same age. Everyone works really hard. You don't have a life. The startup that I worked at, Cloud Health, was a little bit different, where their founding team was actually super experienced. This was their 3rd company that they had already exited the other 2. One had got bought by Dell, one had been bought by another company that no longer exists because that's how old they are. And they really knew what they were doing business-wise. They had no idea what they were doing digitally or for a SaaS company. So we're all trying to like figure it out together. And that was like one of the best experiences that I had. I still talk to the CTO, the CEO, and COO. And a lot of my clients today are my old coworkers from this gig because everyone got a really nice payout when they got acquired. So I would say if you're looking for a job when you graduate, I'm not sure where you guys are in life, but pick a startup with a good founding team, and that's basically going to write your ticket afterwards. So that network will give back time and time again. So that was fun. So basically at the end of Cloud Health, I had got us to over 500 leads a month. I hired an entire senior marketing team. One of the dudes there was my new boss, and he said like, hey, I'm going to help you. I'm going to get your promotion. I'm going to like make sure your career is going to be great. And I was like, okay, awesome. And then I really knew that he didn't know how much I made back then, because I was almost making like 100K at that point. He then went and checked my salary and came back and said, "How'd you get paid so much?" And I was like, "Excuse me." And he was like, "I've never met someone that got paid as much as you." He's like, "I took a pay cut to get here. What did you do?" And I'm like, "I negotiated up. What's your problem?" So then we got to the point where like my role didn't really make sense anymore. And because I was doing so much, that's how I got paid a lot of money. And now that they had divvied up the role into different things, like I didn't really need to be there to get paid as much as I did. So I left on good terms with a lot of people there, which was fun. And I decided to see like how good is my marketing for real. At that point in time, I learned about digital, I learned venture, and I was like, let's see if we can test this again and see how we do. So I thought I should join customer success. And I did. I basically just wanted a job, and some dude reached out to me on LinkedIn, and he was the chief customer success officer at a marketing technology company called Evergage, and they did a lot of A/B testing, personalization. They're like the cusp of the most advanced parts of digital marketing. They came to me and said like, "Hey, our customers are churning. We don't know why. Like we get all these like cool businesses signed up and they all leave us within a year." I was like, "Oh, that sucks." And so they basically made me a deal that they'll teach me customer success and then I'll learn how to do that, which is good because it's like project management, that's sales, that's managing technology from top to bottom, and I'll teach them how to do marketing so their customers don't churn. And so at this job, it was nice because I was brought in as a lead strategist. I got to speak at multiple summits. I was presenting. I was literally presenting every single day to someone for about 2.5 years. Oh yeah, we forgot to do the poll. Oh shoot, let's do the polls real quick.
Okay. Well, I didn't want to
forgot.
interrupt. I didn't want to interrupt you, but this is a poll that we were supposed to do, but we can do it now. So just for everybody on the call, we'll just launch this quick poll. We want to know what your knowledge is of digital marketing. Is actually, you actually haven't even gotten there yet, Pardees, so it's kind of okay.
No, that's true.
Right,
It's
yeah.
all okay. Everything is always okay.
This is mostly background. When you get to the marketing, this will help you.
Okay, good. We got about half the people voted already.
Come on,
just a few
guys.
more.
Vote. Unless I put you to sleep already with my weird tales of my life.
No, you're doing great, Pardees. It's
Yeah, stay awake.
all right.
Asim. Oh, thank you. You're sweet.
Good.
Chris, oh. Well, Chris, you just woke up, didn't you? You're the Australian. I
Okay.
hope you're awake.
So I'm going to end the polling and then I'll share the results.
Oh, yeah, don't wait for questions. You guys can share your questions at any time.
Okay, I'm sharing the poll results. So
Somebody who doesn't see the poll, where would they go if they don't see the poll? Because I see the poll.
It should just pop up in front of you.
Yeah, it should have just jumped up. But anyways, you should see the poll results now. So a quarter of the people know nothing. 40% have heard of it but want to try. So it's a good thing that we have an expert here. 16% have done some digital marketing and 20% say they do a lot of digital marketing, but zero have a well thought out digital marketing strategy. So great. So I think they've come to the right place. Yeah.
You want to do the other one too?
Yeah. Here's one more.
One more.
No, not that one. Hold on. How do I do the second one?
I don't know.
It won't let me do the second one for some reason.
Put in the chat if you work for B2B or B2C customers or both.
Oh, here, I got it. Here it is.
Got it?
Oh, here it comes. All right, now
Poll
take the
number
poll.
2.
This is poll number 2. Does your product or company service business to business or business to consumer? Both or not sure or not applicable. Okay, so got about half voted already. Numbers are going up.
Big mix.
Yeah, seems like we have a good mix.
Definitely have a mix.
Ooh, be the government. That's a long, long sales cycle. It's cool that you can get into that stuff. I have some friends doing that.
B2G.
B2G.
Okay, just a few more seconds. All right.
Oh, nice. B2Cs, man. Life is life.
Here we go.
Nice.
So we got a really good mix. It's pretty even, but a lot of people just don't know or it doesn't apply to them. So I would
That's
argue
all
that some
good.
people, that it doesn't apply to them. It actually might do, but you just don't know how, right? So even your personal brand, right? You do personal branding for yourself on digital marketing,
Ooh,
right?
D2C. Yeah, I count D2C as B2C. I'm sorry, you're still a business at the end of the day. That's just my like rant on new businesses. Sometimes I sound like an old man, but
But
yeah, D2C is also great.
the government's a good category to think of. We all miss that one.
Yeah, the government's interesting. I barely see people like into the government startup contracting because it's hard to get that credit. B4H, honey, what is it? Oh, business for humans. Yes. Yeah, that's true too. That's a new thing. Man, that's hilarious. Love it. Thanks, Connie. You're the greatest. Okay, so back to Evergage. I worked more in the B2B. I worked with a couple of B2C customers. I really like B2C is like okay for me. I'm like, okay, like let's buy shoes or sell shoes. It's like too easy. It doesn't really make me excited about life. I like B2B because I like a challenge and I love engineers because they're the most challenging people to market to. But I don't know, maybe I'm a masochist. It's crazy. So yeah, at Evergage, I talked a lot like I do today. I learned a lot about how to manage software products from end to end. I made new features with my engineering team. I was able to sell. I ended up being one of the top salespeople at my company, even though I wasn't in actual sales. I was just upselling to a lot of people. And the biggest joke every quarter was, would I beat someone on the sales team with my sales? And most of the time it was yeah. And one time I was a top seller, including the sales team. So I had one really big deal come in, which is really cool. So yeah, it was great. I got my name out there more, and I like really figured out with my customers a really good strategy that we could get anyone up and running on a product in 30 days and finding success, which was the biggest challenge ever. So once we got more people finding success, there were more of them were buying. Our churn rate went down from 50% to negative 10% because the entire CS, the customer success team, was actually making more money than we were losing, which was great. And it was actually a really good experience. The chief customer success officer there was my main exec, and he had been at live chat before, which was one of the first chatbots, and he had taken them from $9 million in revenue to $21 million in revenue, all through just sales and like customer upsells. And so he really knew what he was doing. We had one of the most advanced customer success teams in Boston, which is really hard to find because at that time, a lot of the customer success teams were just being formed. And like even today, customer success is still one of the newer industries to kind of get into. If you have more than 2 years experience, you can basically become a director. So if you're looking for something to get into where you can like rise high and very fast, customer success is a pretty good lifestyle choice, and you learn a lot. It's really good training to be a CEO. We can talk more about that later. Okay, so that was me at Evergage. So at the end of my time at Evergage, about last year, our product started regressing. I actually didn't get kicked out this time, which is really exciting for me. And the product was regressing so badly that I would sell something and it would break, and then the engineering team wouldn't fix it. And I'm a very caring salesperson. I only sell because I really feel like it's going to make someone's life better. And I started having nightmares about my customers getting angry at me. And to stop all the nightmares, and I slowly started realizing that they were just trying to get acquired. They're just trying to ride out the wave and see what's going to happen. I just couldn't work there anymore because I couldn't keep up with my promises. So I quit. And I'm still in touch with a lot of my customers today. They're all really great people. I actually hired a few of them too. So that was fun. So I left. And I decided to say like, oh shoot, what's next? So I quit cold turkey. I had some savings from the Cloud Health acquisition that actually worked out pretty well for me. I had about a year of savings in the bank, and I decided to say like, okay, let's see how far we can get. So one of my friends, after I partied for a whole month. I went to every conference that was going on in Boston. Because I live in Boston, like HubSpot's here, so they have their huge inbound marketing conference with like 30,000 people. There's Drift, which is like the chatbot campaign startup, and they were ex-HubSpot people, so they did their own conference with another 1,000 people. Evergage had their own conference, which I showed up to too, even though I wasn't invited because I wanted to see all my customers. It was at the point where like 10% of the entire summit was my customers, so I had to show up because they all wanted to take me out for drinks. And I realized if I go out for drinks with about 100 people, I might die. So I'm like, let me just show up and drink with everyone and like say hey, like meet some people who are coming in from Europe. Yeah, those were the days, man. Those are still the days. Yeah, they're great. So then I decided to see what I could do. One of my friends told me, just put on LinkedIn that I could freelance and see where it goes. And I was like, yeah, that might be a good idea. Like, let's freelance and see who we can help. And so I put on LinkedIn. I was like, hey guys, I'm out of a job. I am freelancing. Whoever wants help with marketing, let me know. I had a goal of making $6,000 a month. I wanted to get to the point where I could start building a product on the side and like floating myself to work 20 hours a week. But life had other chances and other options for me. And by January, I had accidentally sold $25,000 a month in services. And that's when I realized I can't do all the work. I was just selling, like having a good time. They all hit, everyone signed the contract, which is actually pretty surprising for me. And so then I got from having enough work to having too much work. And I started hiring the team. And so based on the team, based on my customers, we kind of built Albaloo together. So I'm not going to give you a sales pitch about who we are, but I'm going to tell you, yeah, dude, it just happens. Everyone just wants to sign up. It was nuts.
Good problem.
So I'm going to tell you like how we built it and how we came up with everything. So basically, this is our mission. Everyone should have a mission. I'll tell you, oh yeah, my secret is just like, I'll tell you all this about the secrets in a second. The mission basically is my mission in life. Like, I just love helping startups and small businesses succeed. And then I added this speaking to their audience with a targeted approach because I realized that's what I was doing at Evergage. And if I could bring that and make it more technology agnostic and give it to the small startup companies, they could actually really focus in on the right segment with the right people at the right time, and their messaging and their advertising will work so much better. And that's how we were getting these crazy conversion rates when I was working at Evergage. Like, I had some campaigns that had a 60% conversion rate. Most of the time, the conversion rate is 2% for any campaign. So if you get anything over that, you're doing really well. And because if you get to know your customers as well as you can when you're working on a company, then you're in a better state of mind for solving their problem, and then you're more aligned to their messaging for what happened. No, man, shit was real. Personalization, it works. So that's how I came up with this mission. Do you guys have missions? Yes, no, maybe? You can write in the chat about your missions or put your missions in the chat. But everyone should have a mission if you're working on a startup. Even if you're like in life, you should just have a life mission. It really helps make your decisions a lot better and a lot easier. And then this is how I see startups growing. So because at this point, I had been at startups from the very early stage of like a 5-person startup, a 2-person startup, all the way to the point of like a 300, 400-person startup that was about to be acquired. I could actually see the full life cycle of what a startup is. And I kind of like came up with a lot of these milestones based on my learnings. And then I read a lot. So like Steve Blank's entrepreneurship book is really good. I see you guys are talking about Steve Blank, which is great. Oh, there we go, Asim. Exercise of vital powers. Ooh, along lines of excellence in the life affording them. Okay, we can get there. I want to know like how the stolen quote. All right. Well, now I'm
Personal mission is to steal other people's quotes.
Right. And so, yeah, based on Steve Blank, and then there's another one that's called The Disciplined Entrepreneurship by Bill O'Dette. That's one of my other favorite books. And it actually gives you like a 24 steps to starting a company. You can like follow it along as you do it, which is really nice. And so that's.
Oops.
Sorry, my little sister called me and I told her not to. I'm going to put it on Do Not Disturb. But that's how I came up with these milestones. So market my patents. So there we go. Get it, Ashima. Love it. But yeah, so how do you find the target customers? Oh yeah, I'm going to tell you guys about that in a second. We'll get there. But basically, most of the companies that I work with are between 2 and 3. Some of them I do help launch, but a lot of the ones who are launching don't have money to work with me, so I can't work with them as much. But basically, as you keep growing your startup, the different ways of marketing to people is going to change. Like if I'm a B2B customer, like I'm growing to businesses, and I go from a minimum viable audience, like my ideal customer profile, I might realize when I have to scale, I need to sell to 4 people instead of 1. So my personas are going to change. And same thing with your customers. If you're like a B2C customer or a D2C customer, kind of like if you're going from like 5 to 100, those tactics you're going to use are very different than what you can afford when you're going from 100 to 1,000. And so we can kind of like work on that. And as your lists grow, you can do more email marketing. As you can have more money, you can afford to spend more. As you get more customers, they can do more referrals. And so basically you can look at your different channels and what you're doing and change them based on where you're trying to get to next. But the biggest mistake I see a lot of companies do is they try to use the same strategy when they launch as you would do when you're scaling marketing, and they spend a lot of money and it all just gets burnt out. I had one friend spend $150,000 on a Facebook campaign, and then he ran out of funding because he spent $150,000 on a Facebook campaign. He did not get any customers. And so what I would say is like, as you slowly grow over time, like make sure that, you know, you're checking that the conversion rates are good. Like people are actually coming to your website and signing up, and at least like 2% of them are signing up. Now, the people who are signing up, you're actually finding value in your service. Because then if you're not valuable, then you're finding the wrong customers. So you spend a lot of time in the beginning aligning your customers with the right people and then trying to like figure out how to bring them in slowly. Then you can like slowly build over time and do more and more things at scale. But the very beginning is very manual, and you just have to talk to people. Yeah, conversion. No, I mean, it's a real question though. Like the more data you have for making, so Asim's asking how many conversions should you have before you make a lookalike audience on Facebook? At least like 100, I would say. If you want to kind of do that, you want to give Facebook enough data to be able to find the people for you. And that's what you kind of want to think about. I like to have at least 1,000 people in my segment, so maybe 1,000 conversions. We can start at 100 and see how it works. Like I like to turn things on and see how it runs for 2 weeks and then like turn it off. If you have a really good set of customers that's like super targeted, you might be able to find, and it might work, and you might be able to just get them coming in. But sometimes you might need more data. So that's like really on the algorithms on their side. Understood. Oh yeah. So basically I came up with this methodology with my customers. What I realized a lot for a lot of these startups is they didn't really know their strategy. And so when we started building out strategies, I would say, okay, guys, like, what do we need? Like, who do you want to market to? And they would say, I don't know. I was like, oh. And as the more and more people I talked to, the more I realized that a lot of these companies just had no idea who they were supposed to market to. They were trying to market to everyone at once, which never really works well. So I started adding customer interviews as our first step. And so we actually talked to at least 5 people from every single segment that they have a hypothesis on to go to market with. This is something that you should do yourselves too, is like create the personas, figure out who you're trying to get to, and like actually talk to the people in those segments and see if they're actually interested in what you're buying and selling. And we try to like retrofit and like figure out like who's the best person that I can get at scale that's actually going to find value in what you're selling. Then once you look at the strategy, I ended up doing a lot of planning. We talk to people, we try to like really figure out what the founders we work with, we figure out what makes them tick. I'm going to show you what the biggest thing we market is. And then based on that, we do a lot of strategy based on SEO and social media, look at what their competitors are doing. If you're creating a whole new category, we try to figure out like what are the different tangential markets to you and like what are they doing to attract people. And we figure out a plan to like attract people to your website and a hypothesis based on that. Then we also realized a lot of startups aren't really good at positioning themselves. Like the main thing you have to think about when you're marketing something, especially if it's a new technology, is that people don't know what you're talking about. If your mom doesn't understand what you're doing, then no one will understand what you're doing. So I always like to use the mom test, which doesn't work if your mom is an engineer. So if you have a mom who's an engineer, then find a new mom. Find someone else to be that mom for your mom test. I also like to test a lot of things on my college friends because they're like in theater or teachers and they have no idea. So I know if I can explain what I do to them. Oh, that is a book, the mom test. I haven't read it, but yeah, that's good. So you guys read the mom test, and I'll read it too. But if I know if someone who has no idea what I do can actually sell and like come up with the ROI and the value and the goal of like what I'm doing, and they can tell other people about it, then I'm winning. If I have to know something about the industry to like understand what you're doing, then you're doing it wrong. And if you think you're too innovative, no, you're not too innovative. Like every innovation can be explained simply. And if you can't do it, then you're not doing a good job. So think about that. Oh, there we go. Mom test Amazon link. Great. And then we launch our campaigns based on all of our strategy, based on all of our talking, and based on all of our positioning. We launch a campaign, and then I like to see and run everything for about 2 weeks so that there's enough time for all the algorithms to figure out what's going on. Are we actually targeting correctly? Is everything working correctly? And then once we have that 2 week period, then we like A/B test everything. And if you're doing advertising campaigns, you can A/B test everything. Oh yeah, thanks, Connie. Love it. And we like A/B test the advertising copy, we A/B test the images, we A/B test the different words in the landing page. For landing page A/B testing, I use Crazy Egg as my favorite partner because it's only $9 a month for testing on anything. And it's actually pretty cheap and gives you like a really cool like scroll tracking of where people are reading, where they're clicking. You can see rage clicks is their new thing, which I love. So if someone's like angry and they can't use your product and they start clicking like a lot, you'll see where that is. It actually helps you make your product and website a lot better. And same thing with the marketing copy. You figure out what's the copy that's actually getting the most people to convert, and you just do more of that. And so that's how we did our methodology. Crazy Egg, I'll write it. You can also use Hotjar. That's like the new one that's on the market. Oops. No, autocorrect is getting me today. There we go. That's the other one. Hotjar is free. I haven't played around with it a lot. I just trust Crazy Egg, and I love their founder, so that's why I am really on to that. I actually met him once at an inbound conference at HubSpot. It was really exciting when I was like 23. And then we deliver everything. So I'm not going to go through this, but marketing is like a full contact sport. It's like what I'm going to say. And you basically want to take a look at everything and like touch every little piece of it. And this is what all the things that come into it for us to actually make something work. We'll talk more about that later. And then, you know, when I had the $25,000 a month in sales, I was like, oh shoot, I need the team. The number one thing for me for getting the right team is making sure that we're number one, as diverse as possible. Because I've been, a lot of my opportunities have been held away from me. I actually had one interview where I had to talk to the recruiter and emotionally console him because he didn't understand why I didn't get the job. Because I was against me and some white dude. The white dude had less experience than me. I was more experienced than him. I had a better track record. I had more experience in the founding team. And they told me that I can't be the director of customer success because they found this white dude who worked at Drift, which is the chatbot campaign company. He wasn't even managing people. And I was like, okay, cool, like fine, that's cool, I'll just move on. And the recruiter would call me, was like, I'd never seen this happen in my entire career. And I was like, how many non-white male men or like non-white people have you ever worked with? And he was like, 0. And I'm like, yeah, that's life for us, man. So I actually ended up spending an hour talking to him and like making him feel better about life. Which is kind of funny because it should be the other way, but you know, it's all right. And you know, it makes us better because like for us to like actually succeed and do well, I'm always given like the second chance or the third chance after everything else has failed. So we have to make sure we actually can compete and like do better than everyone else and like prove our numbers. And that's why people actually work with me and everyone else. And so I got a bunch of people who are also in the same mindset. And we all happen to work the same, which worked out really well. So Claudio and Adam, these two guys, I met them through my college network. College networks are really great. We're all in the now we're all in the technology council for Boston College. We do a lot of things offline and out of work hours together too. And then I met Abby and Lindsay on LinkedIn. LinkedIn's amazing. You can get in front of anyone. So I actually was searching for Abby for about a month. I wanted a designer who could design everything and have really interesting identities, and like every design looked different from something else. So she was the one person I found. I found her on Behance, which is a site for designers. And I looked at her portfolio and I loved it. It wasn't even her real portfolio, apparently. It was like her like first, it was like, she was like, oh, I should put more work into that. I was like, no. And we chatted to her on LinkedIn and she happened to live in Boston and now we hang out all the time. It's great. And then Abby's actually a lot older than the rest of us too. She's actually 50 years old. I'm 32. And she loves working with me. It's amazing. And she's worked at every corporation ever. So whenever I have a question about how to do something, she's seen 3 different ways of where it's worked. So you can say like, hey, Abby, like we need to figure out how to make people's job descriptions. And she's like, here, this is what I do. Or this is what's worked really well in the past. So it's really nice. Oh, I did. Oh, I just sent it to Mark. I'm so sorry. Everyone, Hotjar. My bad, guys.
Oh, I didn't realize that was just me. Yeah, sorry.
Crazy Egg. Thanks, Lori.
You're welcome.
And then Lindsay, I actually met on LinkedIn. I was trying to find someone who knew a lot about advertising, and she still works with LOL Dolls and Tesla and does ads for them. And then now she does ads for us. And it's like really amazing to have her there. She's also been part of 3 different agencies and can tell me how agencies work. And so that's the other thing. Like when you're looking for your friends and like your founding team, like friends aren't always the right people. Just because you all were in the same dorm room doesn't mean you should all work together. I've seen a lot of companies fail because there's a big mismatch in people's skill sets, innovations, and lifestyles. And we just got really lucky that we all work the same way. And that I didn't even realize how lucky we were until I hired the rest of the team, which we'll talk about later in a few minutes, actually. Oh, shoot, it's 4 o'clock. All right, I'm going to go up a little faster. Lean Canvas. Everyone should do this. This is like the best way for you to figure out who you are. It's like a business plan on a napkin, pretty much. And the biggest thing you have to be really good at is figuring out your unfair advantage of why you should be who you are and doing what you do. For me, when I launched my agency, everyone laughed at me and said, there's no way you're actually going to be successful because there's so many marketing agencies out there. I'm like, yes, or our methodology is different than everyone else's, and I can I can tell that story about why I'm the best person you should work with to do growth marketing. Whereas some other agencies can't tell that story and they don't have that experience, and that's how we get to where we are. So you have to figure that out for yourselves. Why are you important? Get good at telling your story. Get good at saying why you should be in the room. Yeah, you guys probably do the same thing. But yeah, value prop and unfair advantage. So yeah, I would say we do both. We do the unique value proposition and we also do the unfair advantage. Because value proposition is product based. It's like, how is your product going to make people feel better? And then unfair advantage is market based. It's like, why are you the person who should be building this product and not someone else? And so like putting those two together is like what's like where the magic really happens. And you just have to be able to tell that story. Okay, so creating processes. This is when shit got real. So I decided, like, okay, like, you know, COVID hit. So we had $25,000 a month for 3 months until March. COVID hit. And I was like, oh no. At that time, we were just under my consulting name, under my own name. It was Pardees Safizadeh Consulting. I lost all my clients in March. I went from $25,000 a month to $0 a month again. I was like, oh no, what's going to happen? Then all my friends who were marketing consultants all got jobs. And they all got full-time jobs. And I was like, wait, these people have been consulting for 3 to 5 years and now they all just quit. And then I realized, I waited like a month, I started talking to a few people and I realized, oh, people are still getting funding though. The investments are still happening. And people might be nervous about hiring a marketing person, but they might not be nervous about hiring a marketing team that they can fire whenever and they don't have to worry about anything else. So I decided to start trying to sell. I sold one client, was very small, but it was our first successful website implementation in April. And then I started really working on my story, my pitch. I got 3 different sales coaches who helped me. I went to a lot of networking events. I started going to a lot of these online events and like putting in my little like 90-second blurb in the chat to see how many people resonated with. And based on that, I kept working. I got laughed out of the room by a few investment companies and investors who had office hours and told me like, there's no way. One of them was like, just get a job, like stop trying. And that was in June. 2 weeks later, I sold 5 clients. And I was like, oh, well, I guess I don't need a job. It just happened to work out. Yeah. Do you think it's worthwhile to develop my personal social media, like post regularly with content, develop your engagement skills? For instance, if I write a book later, it's will be possibly a good audience. Yeah, Asim. Yeah, you're not crazy. You should have these goals. I applaud your goals. Yeah, you should have a good audience because that's basically how I got to where I got to. I built my network over 10 years. So when I was actually wanted to go forward and like move forward with things, like number one, my network had matured with me. So people who were like 5 years ahead of me, who were all managers when I was 22, were now VPs, directors, and founders when I was 32. And yeah, everyone should have a personal brand thingy. That's really what makes you sell. It's like a really good built-in audience to start from, where you don't have to start from scratch when you actually want to push go. If I want to push go and I want to sell like $400,000 tomorrow, then I need to make sure my network can get me there. So yeah, develop it over time because it's not going to be anyone in particular. What do you mean? My favorite social branding site is LinkedIn, but that's because I'm a B2B person. So it really depends on what you want. Like, who do you want your book to be? If it's more like millennials, then maybe you want to do Instagram. If it's Gen Zs, then I guess you should be on TikTok and go viral there. So it just really depends on where you want to be and like where your people are. And that's how you make everything. 10 to 4. I don't know what that means.
10-4, 10-4.
10-4.
Gotcha.
Trucker speak. Oh, okay. I'm not a trucker. So then I sold all this client work and I was like, okay, now we have to make the agency a thing because we were losing so much money on all of us charging $100 an hour after bringing in people that weren't charging $100 an hour that we could manage. So I brought in this entire junior team. And again, I tried to pick a lot of people who were minorities, who were people of color, who may not get the opportunities that I could give them because I may not be able to pay you well right away, but at least I can give you a good opportunity and a good portfolio. And half of them ended up being in North Carolina because I had a lot of good teams down there. Italo and I have been working together for about 10 years. He was one of my best friends. And he brought me down there, introduced me to Crystal, who then introduced me to like everyone else. And I like hired Jose, I hired Crystal, I hired Italo. Alex I used to work with. Lisa I met through a friend because he knew she had just gotten laid off at her job. And she is now our marketing manager and director. I'm helping her manage up and she manages my marketing squad. Vic I met at a conference, and then Remy I met through another friend too. And so I basically went to a lot of people and said like, give me your friends. And like all of them came. And then once we had them in, I had to be like, okay, like now that we have them in, let's like go. And then we tried to do things and no one knew what they were doing. And that's when I realized that like the way we do marketing is so different than the way that you're taught in school. We do everything backwards. So everything I do is like tested, it's agile. I just like to get things out there. A lot of times when you learn in school, you do a bunch of research and you're like, okay, based on this research, we're going to do stuff. It's like, no. And most marketing teams, when they like think of a campaign, they all sit in a room and then try to figure out like what the campaign should be. And then they launch. For us, we talk to people first. And so everything we do is like very agile based. It's like very much like we don't make guidelines. We just build things out first. We test what works and then we write the guidelines after. And that's like the fastest way to get things to work. And so when we do social media, I call it rapid test messaging. When we do content writing, again, that's a test and see like, we're not going to write an ebook until we have 5 blogs that have all done really well under the same topic. And we're getting like 1,000 views a day, or like it went viral on social media. And that's when we're going to choose what we write. We don't do design until we talk to people and see what their current feedback is. And because of that, we can work a lot faster and our campaigns work a lot better because we already know what's about to happen. And that's the best way to work. Don't be in a room. If you're ever in a room or like not talking to your customers at least once a day or like once a week, then stop being an entrepreneur because you just have to talk to people. And that's the only way to do anything, especially with digital marketing. Do it. And then service delivery was really big for us. So that's what we've been working on, is like getting in our muscles. I'm not a good project manager. It's not my skill. I will eventually get this outsourced out. So we bought Zoho in April. It's the cheapest tool out there that can get us what we wanted. And we actually work with our clients. So like Brian's our client and he has a task assigned to him too. And we work like super collaboratively, super fast, super transparently. Everyone can see where everyone else is and where they're at. And then whenever they're done, we work like an engineering company pretty much, which works with us because we work with other engineers and those are our founders. And so they understand how we work. We know how they work and we can really integrate and collaborate and get things up and running as fast as possible. Right now, I'm only 1 day behind, which is our best time yet. We used to be 3 months behind or like 15 days behind. And so we're getting a lot better. And again, it's different muscle, it's practice. If you fail at something, the first time doesn't mean you should stop. Just get better the next time. And the more you do it, the better you get. And then our conference, I messed up this up here. So then we were ready to grow. I had the team in place to kind of know what they're doing well enough. We had our website in place finally, and I knew my messaging. I also didn't build a website until I had the messaging down, the sales down. I always do sales first, marketing second, which is funny because I'm a digital marketer. We'll talk more about that later. But because of that, I didn't have to keep going back and rewriting the website over and over again. I could just write it once and it makes sense now. So we launched that. I launched at the Startup Boston conference. One of my friends runs them, an organizer and a volunteer for that too. And it was really nice because it was only $500 to sponsor the conference. And they brought in 4,000 people that only worked at startups in Boston. Because of that, I sponsored it and said like, okay, like let me do like a consultation. Like whoever wants to work on their startup marketing like ideas, ping me, like I'll do an free hour consult and see what happens. I ended up getting 40 like meetings. It was ridiculous. They sent it up the other times and people were booked through the website. I had about like a 40% conversion rate on that page for people that came to that site from that landing page and signed up for a meeting with me. 75% of them showed up the first time and everyone else who didn't show up actually rescheduled, which was really nice. And I got a pipeline now. I have $300,000 in pipeline growth. We're about to book 150,000 of it starting in January, which will put us at 3 times the revenue that we brought in this year after all this craziness, which will be pretty nice. So we're getting good, we're getting better, and just keep growing. But in order for us to grow at this speed, I put together, I knew the process, I knew the product, I had the team, and we had the methodology. So I would say like start slow, like really nail down your service or your product, make sure that works really well for people, then your team and who they are and like how you pitch yourself and how you sell, and then add marketing and really add some like fuel to the fire. And then that's when you see a lot of this magic kind of happening. And if you have a really good network to start with, people recognize you. Like people that saw my logo and they saw I was the CEO. And one person like messaged me and said, I thought that was a real company. I'm like, it is a real company. Sign up. He was like, okay, fine. And it was like actually really cool. I got one of the best founders in Boston to sign up for a meeting with me too through that. And I was able to connect to a lot of people. And because people knew my name, they're also more willing to sign up because they kind of already knew who I was around the scene. So I would say do what works well. Go into the world. That's me. The end. Now we'll take all your questions.
Yeah,
Sorry, 407. So if you guys have to drop now, you have to. You're welcome, Priyanka. Yay.
Yeah, that was really great, Pardees, just to hear how you made the journey, because a lot of people talk about entrepreneurship and talk about, like how to get there, but you really kind of walked us through the process, and it is scary. It is like it's not like getting a job and it's secure. Like there are ups and downs, and it's just amazing to hear that you've got, like more than double, was it triple the growth that you have, for next year before you even started the year.
Next year is
before
going
January
to be
1st year.
amazing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Really
So it starts small,
paid.
but it gets bigger. So
I liked your chart where you showed the process. Maybe you could just show that again. And I think if anyone has questions, that this might be a great place for them to ask questions about.
Yeah, this is just
That
like
one. The next one.
oh, my bad.
that one.
One more. That one.
Yeah.
So I think
Party. Oh, go ahead, Lori.
I was going to say, I think this might be the place people could have questions on, because this really is like the heart of, the digital marketing. Particularly the analytics part, right? You can't see what you've done and see if you're a success unless you've actually launched something and tested it. Silence.
Yeah,
Do
I
you
would say
have
test
questions?
everything.
Sorry,
Yeah,
we're
if
just.
you want to meet with me, that's my meeting link. And I can talk to you more. Hopefully that actually works. But yeah, seeing those hotspot. Oh shoot, it's not. Hang on. Forgot the .com. Let's do this again.
Yeah, actually, that link that Pardees is trying to find. That's how I.
Better. Yeah, that's actually how I contacted with Mark. I joined a pitch. That was like when I realized. So when I met Mark, that's when I realized like I was good to go, because I went to another sales pitch event, and this dude made me pitch in front of him, and he said I'm good to go, and I was like, what? I've never been told that before in my life. And then someone asked me for a link to meet with me, and I accidentally sent it out to everyone that was in that group, and then Mark found me. So sometimes to send random people your meeting link. You never know who might sign up for it.
Yeah, you never know. I liked what you said about the website, that so many people develop a website and they don't know really who they are or who they're trying to reach. And if you look at this page here that you're showing, building a website is in the middle. You've gone through your strategy and your planning before you do your website, which makes so much sense.
Yeah, I actually sold $70,000 worth of services before I had a website. It was great. And I even sold websites before I had a website. It was nuts.
So Pardees, I have a question. Do you typically do the digital marketing with like software companies, or like, I know that you deal with a lot of startups, but are they all software companies, or are any of them like engineering or life sciences companies that have like a harder kind of?
I don't do as much of the engineering stuff and the life science stuff, because those companies, your strategy is very different than a SaaS company. So if you're like a life science company, you want to get like $1 million contract with like someone else. And so for that, like it's more based on who you know versus what you're saying. Like it's going to be very difficult for you to get someone to come in who wants to spend $1 million via digital marketing. You could do it. You can do account-based marketing where you're like, okay, I want to target these 5 companies and like try to figure out a way to get them. But it has to be a sales and a marketing push together for it to like really work and be useful for you. Those types of companies is more like be in the newspaper, like, be somewhere where they can actually find you and like have the right introduction from the right person.
Or like a trade journal.
Work with them. Yeah, the trade journals, things like that. It's hard to do it as well on the digital side, because when you do it, you spend a ton of money. If you have $1 million contract, you can expect to spend at least like $300,000 to $400,000 to bring them in, and that's okay, because like maybe they'll be $1 million per year after.
So let me ask you, Pardees. I think there's a lot of students on the call today. Like, what they're students, right? So they're still in business school, or they're still in whatever classes they're in. What do you recommend about digital marketing for them, for the students?
So definitely like your personal brand, as we were talking with Asim, is very important. A lot of people, you want to set yourself to be apart from everyone else. You want to figure out like, what's the story I want to tell? What's the type of job I want to have? When I was in school, I didn't really think about that. And like LinkedIn wasn't even a thing. I think LinkedIn came out as I was graduating college. And so I just started like adding everyone's dads on LinkedIn, everyone's moms on LinkedIn, and like started growing my network from there. But now you can like look at people and say like, okay, I want to be like this person who I know went to my college, and you can go and actually talk to them and like see what they did to get to where they are. And then based on that, you can figure out and formulate what you want to do. I like digital because you can really talk to anyone. Like you can look up on LinkedIn everyone who went to Rutgers and everyone who has a job like is your dream job, and it'll just pull all of them up. It's like, here are all these people you want to talk to. And you send a lot of messages to them saying like, hey, I'm a student right now. I'm doing this. I see that you're doing what I want to be doing in the future. Do you mind doing like a 30-minute coffee meeting? And everyone usually says yes. Like it's usually like an 80% response rate. So you can like really, that's my favorite portion of digital marketing for students. You can like really get in front of anyone or meet anyone. Sometimes random people also tweet like, meet me for coffee. I met like a VP of marketing when I was 22 because he tweeted that he would buy anyone coffee who responded to him because he was just bored one day. And I got a coffee with him. I mean, I know now it's COVID, so we can't really do that right now. But you know, I got to get a coffee with the VP of marketing, ask him any questions about my social media strategy. And he was like, he helped me correct it and made me better. And because I talked to a lot of these people who were above my pay grade when I was earlier, I was able to formulate better strategies and work better and talk better to people. And at the end of the day, people are just people. Like I see a lot of people say like, oh, I can't talk to them because they're a director or they're a CEO and I'm just a student. Like who cares? Every CEO and director was a student at one point in time. Everyone was a person at one point in time. Like my favorite quote from Matilda was like the Trunchbull when she was like, I hate children, glad I was never one. I'm like, come on, everyone was a kid. So like everyone was where you were at one point in time in their lives, and they're all willing to talk to you. I actually got a business coach because she dropped her link on LinkedIn, and one of my friends liked the status. I wasn't even like first connected with her, and she was like, anyone who wants like CEO coaching for free, just like book a meeting here. So I booked a meeting with her, and she was great. She helped me out a lot, and said I can reach out to her if I have more help. Because we can just easily like find these people if you follow the right people, if you see the right things, you comment on the right things. You can like figure out, and based on what people's feedback is, if you're super self-aware, you'll be able to like formulate who you are and like where you want to be in the world and like how to talk to get to where you want to go. That's a very long answer.
Yeah, no, that's really great. I think a lot of people kind of hem and haw. You know, in iCore, we try to encourage people to kind of do customer discovery interviews, but everybody is just like, oh, I don't want to say the wrong thing. So they don't say anything, or they just sit there and they just don't know what to do.
Yeah, that's the biggest mistake. It's like really funny. Yeah. Like I tell everyone all the time, like anyone who wants to meet with me. And like some of the time only one person signs up. I'm like, really? Like none of you want to talk to me about like how you could be better at life or like doing something? Like, come on guys. But I read this book by Gary Vaynerchuk. I forget which one. It was one of the first ones he wrote. And he went to his school and presented and said, anyone who wants to meet with me and like fly to California with me, like send me an email. And only one person emailed him. It's crazy. And so like most people don't take any action.
You got to take the opportunities.
I love Gary V, and I follow him on
LinkedIn. Take the action, you're better than 90% of people. Like already by just doing something. It's crazy.
Get off your butt and do it.
Yeah, or just message or talk. And like, you know, you can.
I was gonna say, I like what you said, that when, you know, you had that downtime for that month or so and you just went out and you started meeting people and networking and going to events and you know, educating yourself, and you just did everything you possibly could.
Yep. I call it the kitchen sink approach. You throw everything at it, including the kitchen sink. Just whatever works.
Might have to put you on that one, the kitchen sink approach. I like that.
So Shanita has a question. Shanita, you want to go off mute and ask it?
Oh yeah, action costs. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I
hey.
wanted to know. Hi. Yeah, so you did mention at some point, like, you know, well, there's 0 customers, so that's not in your wheelhouse yet. But if they're startups and they don't have revenue, then how do they take action?
Yeah, so some of them are rich, or they like save up their money over time, like me, and so they have some money, or they have a friends and family around that pays for it. Like one of my companies, they're like pre-launch, but their CEO got his last company acquired by $60 million. Now, do I want to help everyone else? Yes. Can I pay for it yet? No. But eventually what we want to do at Albaloo is like have our own like little like equity fund where we can bring in a few companies and like have them do a pitch competition and like take equity and like build people's websites or like help them out. That's in the future. I don't currently have the money to do that, which is unfortunate. So I have to work with the people who can pay right now. But I do a lot of talks like this. I talk at Venture Cafe, which is actually where I met Mark. It's a pretty good online networking event, and they do a lot of mini events every Thursday. between 3 to 8 p.m. And you can go in and like meet anyone, talk to anyone. You get office hours there. And so I present there about once a month. Now I'm like a resident presenter. I used to be a bartender and a greeter. And you can like get in front of a lot of people who are in the community and just meet them and help them out. So like I do try to help as many people as I can, but also I do need to pay the bills and I do need to eat. So that's where I'm stuck right now. But one day, once we make a lot more money, then I have a bigger margin, I can like help those little companies again.
Thank you.
And
Yeah, no problem.
for students, there's always pitch competitions. There's a lot of money out there for pitch competitions.
Yeah. One of my friends made $100,000 on pitch competitions because she just won all of them. It's actually like a lot of like women founders say that that's the way they're like actually financed, because the venture capitalists say no to them. So they get really good at pitching and they win all these pitch competitions. And then another friend I had who made $200,000 winning hackathons. That's another way you can get a lot of money. You like go to the hackathon, a lot of them have prizes, and a lot of them have prize money for the winning product. And so if you give a good pitch and you get a good product and you get good at that, then you can like pick up and clean out a lot of money. He was actually like in Forbes because he like paid his own salary by just winning hackathons. It was cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, the money's out there. Just go grab it.
Yeah. And ultimately, the best is to kind of connect with them digitally and have them, make a sale, right? Have them purchase your product or service.
Like
right?
bootstrapping is really good. That's why I do consulting. I feel like consulting is really good for anyone because you can get money right away. And now I make everyone pay me up front for all the money that I do, because I tell them that you can't do well. You can't buy. I can give you your money back, but you can't give me my time back. That's what I say. And then that's what makes them realize it. So yeah, if you value your time, if you work really hard, if you meet the right people and figure out the right pitch and like the right service for who you are as a person, and you can get in front of the right people, then you're good to go for life.
Yeah, great.
Yeah, make those personal networks.
Great. So so we are over time, Pardees, but I want to thank you so much for really engaging talk, and kind of your story is really inspiring. A lot of the different things that you went through, we kind of like apologize for all the kind of stuff that you had to go through, but it just made you so much better, right?
Yeah, it's all good. I like it now. I'm just like, joke's on you, people.
Yeah, no, it's really inspiring. So I hope that, your message resonates with a lot of people who are on the call. And again, thank you for joining us. And anyone who wants to reach out to Pardees, definitely go to her link and set up some appointment with her so she can kind of talk you through whatever issue you want to kind of work with her on. And anyone who wants to go learn more about iCore, go to the website. Lori put it in the chat, icore.rutgers.edu, and Pardees is albaloo.us. And yeah.
On LinkedIn.
Oh, and find her on LinkedIn too.
Thank you so much, Pardees. That was great. Really enjoyed.
Thanks, everybody. This is super fun.
Getting your tips.
Yay. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, everyone. Take care. I'll stop the recording.